I think there are powers that are exclusive to the House of Voodoo and its practitioners, and I think we see it a lot in American Horror Story Coven. But the thing I want to caveat before I get into this video is the fact that because the point of view we have of the Voodoo House is from the perspective of the Coven, we might not have a comprehensive view of everything that they're capable of. Now, the list that I've created probably does not capture all of the abilities that are displayed by the practitioners, but I think they are the bigger ones that we see within the series itself. So I'm going to start with the biggest one on my list, and that's immortality. And up until American Horror Story Delicate, we don't actually see any witches who have obtained that yet. And one probably could argue that Skullhawk is capable of immortality, or at least she has immortality. But we do know for a fact that Marie Laveau is immortal up until she breaks her deal with Papa Legba. I'm inclined to believe that this gift is exclusive to the House of Voodoo up until Delicate, because this is something that Fiona covets greatly, and even as a Supreme, she's incapable of obtaining this on her own, and she seeks out Marie Laveau for her help in obtaining this gift, as she would call it. Second power on my list is necromancy. Now, I don't think it's exclusive to the House of Voodoo anymore, but I definitely think it originated there, and I think Marie Laveau and her girls have the ability to summon the dead in a way that we only see the witch's sample. Now, I do think, if you believe Marie's story about Tituba, that she did teach those girls their magic, and what we see in between Resurgence and Vitalum is a derivative of that particular brand of magic that Tituba would have taught them. The third power on my list is fertility works or fertility spells. And depending on what you call it, it's going to depend on what side of the aisle you stand on. But we explicitly see Cordelia go over to Marie Laveau's shop in order to solicit her help for performing a fertility ritual. Now, I'm sure with Cordelia and all her mastery of herbalism and spell work, she would have tried and exhausted all of the options available through Coven originated magic, and thus that's how she ended up at the Voodoo House. And Marie, as a capable practitioner, was able to at least hear her out and help her. Sadly for Cordelia, it didn't work. And of course, I mentioned in later videos, this is likely because Hank is a witch hunter. The fourth power on my list is the ability to use voodoo dolls or to be a voodoo doll yourself if you're Queenie. And I think this power is so cool because there's not a single witch in this universe, American Horror Story, that displays the gift that Queenie has. And we do know that voodoo dolls originated in the Voodoo House, especially if you believe Marie Laveau when she says, you know, a voodoo doll belongs in the Voodoo House. So we know that this particular ability, this particular usage, stems directly from the House of Voodoo. Now, the fifth power on my list is the ability to make deals with the Loa. Personally, I think this one has the most room for debate because we do see Fiona to make a deal with Papa Legba or Baron Samedi, and she's incapable of doing so because she doesn't have a soul. But the natural inclination to perform this ability lies in the House of Voodoo, and the only two witches we see who successfully use this ability are Marie Laveau in exchange for immortality, and then Queenie, which might not have been a deal per se, or maybe it was, but she was able to convince Papa Legba to revoke the deal he had with Marie Laveau because she had violated the terms and conditions. So I think in that regard, I would say it belongs, or at least it originated and is held within the House of Voodoo. But we do see witches, or at least a witch, Fiona, attempt to use it, which is why I'm thinking that it's a little bit debatable. So in summary, I think there are 5 major abilities that originate from or are exclusive to the House of Voodoo, and that is immortality, fertility works, necromancy, the ability to be or use voodoo dolls, and the ability to make deals with Loa. And I think these powers are really cool, and it would have been really nice to see some of the other workings that occur inside of the Voodoo House. But this is the only thing I will say, maybe in defense of Ryan Murphy, but you can never really be too sure, is I don't know how much of these practices are closed and how much he got that was just common knowledge. But I'm going to assume that maybe we don't have more information on this because voodoo is a closed practice, and I'm not sure who gets to say what is allowed to be shown on TV and what isn't. But please let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you guys in another video.